Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate this hearing, especially these witnesses who I think bring a great deal of expertise to the topic. Let me start with Mr. Bodson on GameStop specifically. As you noted in your testimony, the temporary restrictions on trading by Robinhood and others were due to the additional collateral required by the DTCC. But those were extraordinary circumstances in an exceptionally volatile market. For the sake of retail investors, of course, we don't want to see, generally speaking, halts in trading to happen frequently or ever again. I do appreciate your testimony that moving to an accelerated settlement could reduce margin requirements and specifically bar charges by up to 40% if we go to T+1. But can you describe how DTCC communicates with brokers regarding their collateral requirements? And specifically, are there ways to improve that communication or otherwise increase transparency to mitigate the risk of repeating this kind of surprise margin call and what happened in January?
Thank you, Congressman. Our process for computing the margin and communicating such is laid out in our rules, which include the margin formula itself. There are margin guides. We have a portal that they can use to estimate their margin. You know, the calculation works overnight. It's every day. It's run at the end of the trading day. It takes into consideration market volatility. It looks at specific security volatility, concentration of activity in certain securities. So what you saw in GameStop was almost a perfect storm going through these retail platforms where a lot of buy activity, massive buy activity, 130 times normal volume we saw weeks before, in stocks that were moving around anywhere from 100 to 300% a day, and just highly volatile over this period of time. So the margin calculation reflects the risk that the firm is presenting to us. That calculation is done overnight, and it is communicated the next day automatically by email generation. In the case of Robinhood, there was an additional charge, a capital premium, which was as a result of the fact that their margin requirement was in excess of their net capital, indicating that they were taking on more financial risk than we felt would be prudent. That charge was later waived, but the core margin charge of $1.4 billion, again, it's articulated in our rules. We give their clients a tool. Transparency is always a good that we'll always try to get better at, but we believe that we do provide those tools.
Thank you very much. Moving to Chairman Gensler, congratulations on your confirmation. Look forward to working with you, sir. And let me just revisit a question that Mr. Luchtmeyer and also Mr. Lucas asked and kind of bring them together. The regulation by enforcement question from Mr. Luchtmeyer and the ESG disclosure question from Mr. Lucas. We don't want to see regulation by enforcement. We want to see notice and comment rulemaking wherever possible. On March 4th, the SEC announced its new enforcement task force focused on climate, as was discussed earlier, and ESG issues. But it wasn't until March 15th that it issued a request for public comment, and the SEC has not completed its recently announced review of the 2010 guidance. Chairman Gensler, can you explain the sequence? In other words, why is the announcement of a new focus on enforcement coming before market participants know the rules? And will you commit to adhering to requirements under the Administrative Procedures Act and completing notice and comment rulemaking prior to engagement in any enforcement action?
So I am committed to complying with the Administrative Procedure Act on rulemaking, and I have said in this hearing and in my confirmation process, I think the market investors do want to bring some consistency and comparability to climate disclosure, human capital disclosure, and moving out and getting that comment. But there are rules of the road that are already in place. The guidance from 2010, our overall securities laws, and we're going to be vigorously enforcing the laws and rules that are in place as they're in place. But yes, I'm committed to using notice and comment for new rules, but we still have to enforce the old guidance and old rules as vigorously as you would want us to.
Well, thank you. And I don't have time for this question, but I'm going to be talking to you about horse racing, Chairman Gensler. I represent the horse industry in Kentucky, and we've got a Reg A problem. We want to democratize ownership of securities and racehorses, and we look forward to working with you and the commission on that issue.
I look forward to that. A different issue than GameStop.
That's right, and we just finished the Kentucky Derby, so it's a timely issue.
Correct.
Yield back.